Sorry for the tangled stream of thoughts. I'm tapping this out on my phone while wedged between boxes of spare parts, and my hands still reek of resin and gasoline. I never imagined I'd become the guy who spills his personal drama onto the internet, but it seems to be the only way to sort things out and stay sane. My name's Alex. I'm 25, I live in Ohio, and I'm nuts about anything with wiring or pistons. I used to have everything a quiet life requires. A job at a small IT startup, a morning espresso pulled from a coffee machine that survived 1,000 disassemblies, and Emily, the girl I planned to call my fiancée a couple of months ago. Emily and I started dating back in college, and I was sure I knew every quirk she had, right down to the way she wrinkles her nose when a smoke detector beeps or a duck scene pops up in Friends. Then, on that cursed Thursday, my old Toyota MR2 decided it was done hauling me to work and left me stranded on the highway with an engine knock loud enough to make any mechanic cross himself. I rang up my childhood buddy Mike. He runs a shop on the outskirts of town and spends weekends turning junkyard muscle cars into showpieces. He grumbled but showed up 20 minutes later and tossed me a NASCAR cap. Here, wear this for luck. A joke, of course, but I've hardly taken it off since. It's become a badge showing I'm basically living at his garage. Replacing a rod was nothing compared with the real nightmare we found. Scored cylinder walls and stripped threads in the head. Mike shrugged. Bro, either we hunt down a used motor or you spend the next 3 weeks with me teasing pistons with grinding paste. My hands itched. My eyes lit up. I love wrenching, even if I'm no professional. So I became a willing captive at the shop. By day, I answered client emails while perched on an upside-down bucket. By night, Mike, his dogs, and I argued ourselves hoarse over injection timing. Lynyrd Skynyrd rumbling from the speakers until the underhood lamp finally died after the third whack of a fist. At first, Emily loved that something had truly grabbed me. She snapped photos of my greasy hands and posted them to stories over a beating engine gif. We agreed I'd make up for our couple of couch nights on Friday, but Friday stretched into Saturday, then Sunday slid in, and we only saw each other when I dashed home to shower and swap out an oil-stained t-shirt for a clean one that reeked of diesel cleaner a few hours later. Midway through the second week, Emily suggested visiting her parents, 2 hours out of town. Said her mom needed help with tomato seedlings and she could breathe some non-city air. I nodded like I was listening, though I was mentally compiling a parts list for the morning. She hugged me goodbye, but the smell of soap lost to gasoline and she flinched. Hope your Toyota appreciates my sacrifices. I smiled but never managed to say I was doing all this for us. Emily left early Friday morning. I half woke to the door, glimpsed her carrying a suitcase to the taxi, then fell back asleep. The night before, Mike and I had argued till 2 a.m. about ring sizes. Around noon, she texted photos of her family house, the wooden porch, a beehive in the backyard, a lawn glowing under the sun. I sent back a heart emoji and returned to the valves. 3 days blurred by. Sunday night, the engine finally fired without that death rattle. Mike beamed and clapped my shoulder. See? Told you this baby still had fight. We celebrated with non-alcoholic beer. Rule in the shop. No booze until every bolt's torqued. Close to midnight, I crawled out of the wash bay, exhausted but happy. I pulled out my phone, expecting a message from Emily. The smile vanished. Her last text was Friday's picture. A chill ran through me, but I told myself her parents' internet might have died, and she'd be home by morning. I fell asleep right there in the car, smelling fresh oil and cold metal against my cheek. Monday, I woke to an email chime. A client, not Emily. Something creaked inside. I checked socials. Nothing. Called. Straight to voicemail. Maybe the highway's jammed, I muttered, racing from the shop to the apartment with only keys and phone. The hallway, elevator, door, all weirdly silent. A note on the kitchen table. Back after lunch, don't worry. Time crawled like thick honey. I tried finishing a report, the letters blurred. 4 o'clock, key in the lock. Emily stepped in, lowered her bag, shook out her hair and looked at me like I was an uninvited guest. I opened my mouth to tell her about the engine victory, but she beat me to it. We need to talk. Those 4 words always sound the same, a notch quieter than normal speech, yet screaming like worn brake pads. She perched on the edge of the couch, hugging a cushion. Terror gripped me. It felt as if the sofa might rip apart if I sat beside her. Emily fiddled with the pillow seam, as though searching the embroidery for a cue. "I kissed someone else," she blurted, as if stepping over a cliff, and now the rest could tumble out quickly to end the torture. It hit like a battery terminal to the brain, a deafening pop, a flash. I stared, my mind cycling through responses. How? When? Who? But my jaw was locked. She told it in jolts. Saturday night, neighbors asked for help moving a grill, then hung fairy lights, turned on music. Jason, a tall neighbor boy next door, smiled straight off a baseball poster, offered to drive her to the store for ice cream. On the way back, he said she had beautiful eyes and remembered falling from a tree together in grade school. I'd never listened to those childhood tales. They parked by the fence, watched fireworks from the town festival, radio playing. He leaned in. So did she. I heard every word like tack readings, yet couldn't plot the graph, heart pounding like a misfiring piston. She finished. I came home and spent the whole time thinking how to tell you the truth. I finally croaked, robotic, desperate to save us. You weren't to blame for it, right? The question slipped out. I felt if I said it aloud, reality might reset. Emily drew a breath, as if diving into ice water, and shook her head. No, Alex, I didn't stop it. I wanted it. She said it evenly, and the room seemed to shrink. The air thickened. My heart stalled. She gently set the cushion down, stood, headed for the door. I saw her fingers tremble as she pulled on her jacket. The door slammed the instant I managed to exhale her name. Echo rolled down the hallway into silence. I was alone, oil-stained jeans, a resurrected engine nobody needed, and the question still ringing like a snapped alternator belt. I sat for ages staring at a patch of street lamp light bleeding through the blinds. Thoughts spun like dry bearings. Why hadn't I noticed Emily tuning me out when I babbled about 10 mil bolts? Why assume a few weeks of garage bliss wouldn't change anything? My phone dinged. Mike, bro, pressure test tomorrow. Don't oversleep. I had a stupid thought. If I can't fix Emily's heart by morning, at least that four-banger will run smooth. I locked the apartment as if afraid a draft would carry away the remnants of us. The MR2 keys cut my palm. The road to the shops stretched empty. Every streetlight I passed flashed the question, can I forgive? Under the yellow glow, I searched for the leak where I'd lost her. Tuesday dawn hit bright as a welding arc. Mike, coffee mug in hand, had tools laid out. Couldn't sleep? I just nodded. He knew jokes could wait. I dived into work, a rage-powered rhythm, compression test, cam lash, feeler gauges, a routine that gave chaos order. Mike silently passed wrenches. I was grateful for 0 questions. By lunch, the engine roared like a hungry beast. Inside, I felt I was roaring with it. A poster over the bench read, "What doesn't kill you needs a higher torque." I wondered, if something breaks inside you, should you repair it or admit the part's shot? Wiping my hands, a wild idea flashed. Call Jason. Find out why that kiss mattered. As if his words might clarify what Emily had already told me. I found him on her Facebook, Jason Turner, holding a ginger puppy. My heart squeaked like metal under load. But I didn't dial. Sarah, Mike's neighbor who bakes pies and sometimes helps with bookkeeping, walked in. Seeing my face, she squinted. "You look like a clutch disc ran you over. Share or I'll drag you into cherry pie therapy?" I cracked my first smile all day. Over pie that smelled of vanilla and cinnamon, I told her everything, from Rodnock to Heartnock. She listened, nodding. When I finished, she said simply, "Maybe ask yourself not whether she's guilty, but why you demanded an excuse right away." The words hit harder than any breaker bar. I realized I'd chased the idea of rewinding reality like an unthreaded bolt. But the threads never return the same, do they? I thanked Sarah, took out my phone, opened Emily's chat, but my finger froze above the keyboard. What could I write? "Sorry I wasn't there," or "How could you?" Instead, I left it blank. Another evening passed to the whine of tools, the clang of hammers, and the scent of milled aluminum. Deep inside, a faint knock began, uncertain, like an engine after overhaul when you don't know if it'll survive load. It whispered, "This is just the start, buddy. Either rebuild yourself or rust in the corner." Tuesday morning ended before it really began. I woke to a push notification, long-set reminder, "Buy the ring." I'd picked a random April date to ambush myself with romance. If by then we were rock solid, Emily's finger would shine with a sapphire. The reminder landed at the worst moment, like a tech bulletin during a fire. I swiped it away, but my finger still trembled. Mike called as I raised the shop's roll-up door. I put him on speaker and rattled off which manometers we lacked for proper boost prep. Did you sleep? 4 hours total. Even a break? Still holding. The garage smelled of drying paint and heated rubber. Mirrors on lift cars caught my face, red-rimmed eyes, neck taut like a timing belt before snap. I pulled off the cap, hair stuck with sweat. Put it back on, let the brim absorb thoughts I couldn't. Just before noon, brakes screeched outside. White Honda Civic. Lauren from the office, the salad without gluten queen who sprints projects faster than any sprint. She brandished a tablet. Urgent client update, you're an hour silent on Slack. I'd forgotten work entirely though, the contract was on deadline. Apologizing, I led her to a corner table where the shop's coffee tasted like tar. Lauren debriefed new requirements. I mentally disassembled a socket. Did Emily need time to process consequences? Or was she paving a path without me? Lauren eyed me. You look like a clutched disc. I surprised myself by telling her the whole story. She listened, then said, Al, you're installing a fuse so it won't short, but sometimes a short is needed to blow the circuit so you can run new wiring. Her metaphor popped my pressure valve. I stepped outside. Hot air slammed my lungs. I dialed Emily. Rings. 3, 4, she answered, voice small. I blurted, can we meet? She sighed. I'm packing my things, moving to a friend's for the week. Inside, a stopper clicked. I heard my own flat voice. Want help boxing up? No, Alex. Easier if I do it. We hung up without emotion, but my hands shook afterward. Sarah showed up that evening with pies. She saw me and asked, gonna work yourself to death? We sat in the backyard on benches Mike had salvaged from a ruined bar. Over enamel mugs of tea, I repeated Lauren's fuse analogy. Sarah leaned in. So what's the takeaway? I breathed. Maybe I'm so into metal I miss rust eating the relationship. That night, I promised Sarah and myself to stop and face the mirror without oil stains. I texted Mike I'd take 2 days off. He replied with an antifreeze bottle emoji, his joke about mechanics' tears, and asked no more. Wednesday began with echoing emptiness. I opened the closet, half the hangers empty. A note on the dresser, don't throw out your old sneakers, I always loved their smell, just stash them. Odd request, but warm, a slice of the old Emily. I sniffed the dusty rubber and tears hit like coolant droplets on hot metal. My heart, idling too long, misfired. I called Mom, usually Sundays only. Hearing my cracked voice, she ditched her recipes. Where are you? Come home. An hour's drive away. I said I'd visit. Packed. The road ran past fields. Dust smeared the horizon free of buildings. All I thought was, where did Emily start feeling left out? At my parents' house, apple trees bloomed. Dad and I sat on the porch where we once tuned my first bike. He listened like fixing a snapped chain. Slow, quiet, well-timed, a huss. When I finished, he took off glasses, gazed toward the fields. Son, first time your mom nearly left me was for my work. I dragged projects home, spent nights. She said she felt widowed by a living man. I shrugged her off until I noticed she'd stopped singing in the kitchen. Love a machine, check its oil. Love a person, check their voice. If it's gone quiet, you skipped lubrication. The simple mechanical metaphor struck bullseye. That night in my childhood room under a Mustang poster, I drafted how to talk to Emily honestly. No excuses, no you're blameless, just owning how I missed our scheduled maintenance. Every draft tried to balance sorry and can we try again with the fact she might not want another stint on the same lift. Morning showed an unread message from Jason. Alex, weird, but I'd like to talk. You deserve an explanation. He'd found my number through mutual friends. I called Mike. Would you meet the guy who kissed your girl? He laughed. Depends. Is there a bat? But honestly, it's better to know the full picture than wrench in the dark. I agreed. I told Jason. Tonight, Neutral Ground Cafe on the edge of town. Cafe Maple and Diesel sat between highways, smelling of coffee and caramel. I arrived first. Jason entered. Tall, baseball cap, shoulders like a college slugger. We sat. He apologized, said the kiss was a moment, nothing more. Emily had felt lonely, forgotten. He comforted her. Sparks flew. He regretted it, knew she loved me. Hearing it eased me. It wasn't a plotted betrayal, more a freak April storm. I left relieved, like a seized piston freed. Driving home, a plan formed. Not plead, not accuse, but show I'm ready to be a partner, not just a mechanic. I bought daisies, her favorite, and left them at her friend Kate's door with a note. When you're ready to talk, I'm ready to listen. Friday evening, her text, tomorrow at the creek, 10 a.m. Saturday smelled of post-rain freshness. She arrived, eyes puffy. We spoke. She felt like a passenger in my life. I confessed ignoring our oil levels. We cried and joked about installing a check love soon light. We decided on a short trip to a lake. No phones, no wrenches, no neighbors named Jason. We didn't kiss yet, but her hand on my arm was a piston starting to move. The lake trip reset us. Aluminum boat, copycat ripples, late summer larches. We asked blunt questions. What scared us? Why did I hide chaos? Why did she stop fighting for my attention? We returned yawning but lighter. That night she accepted a shared calendar invite I made. Love Service 1.0, weekly attention level check, device-free day, joint project unrelated to work. Sunday at dawn I rolled into the shop. Mike handed me a latte. You look like a guy who finally slept. We swapped the last seals, fitted a new belt. The engine purred. I sent Emily a pic. Passenger seats waiting. She replied instantly, soon. No crashes. Weeks flew in a soft break-in rhythm. Tuesdays I shut the laptop at 6. We hit the farmer's market. Thursdays she sat beside me at the bench writing her book while I tuned a client's 73 Firebird. The garage became therapy chamber, Sarah joked. Mid-May my startup landed a contract with a big auto dealer. Integrate telemetry into demo cars, deadline tight. Lauren announced, Alex must fly to Austin, presentation Friday, no wiggle room. Emily listened, eyes measuring Ohio to Texas. We forged a pact. Nightly call with only the day's real feeling, no doom scrolling after 11. Austin conference was BBQ hot. Demos went well, but anxiety hummed like a loose heat shield. One evening a journalist named Jessica chatted me up at a mixer. Alarms buzzed. I excused myself, stepped outside, and saw Emily's text pop first. Holding up? I answered, snapping like a fresh belt. Thanks for the lube, love. Relief. Presentation nailed. Pilot invitation secured. I skipped the team bar crawl. FaceTimely, she looked tired. Kate in hospital with appendicitis. I vowed to fly home on the earliest flight. She met me at the apartment. Paint-stained shirt. We hugged long. No sparks, just steadiness. Summer. Festivals. Heat. Mike planned amateur track day. Emily wanted in. We entered my MR2 and Mike's old Civic. Practice nights meant cone killing and laughter. Week before, Emily's dad injured his knee. She needed to visit alone. We talked, trusted. She left me her keychain as a piece of me in your pocket. I slept through the weekend without panic. She video called from her childhood bedroom, poster of a shuttle behind her. We swapped daily highlights. Sunday she returned early, smelling of grass, beaming, holding a tiny tracking tag. She'd fitted it to my MR2 keys to buzz me if I overworked past midnight. Mike roared, Dude, your GPS tracked by love. Track day came. Emily drove the MR2, her best rookie lap time blinked on the board. She jumped into my arms. Sarah snapped photos yelling, This is what a post-rebuild victory looks like. By the bonfire that night, ring reminder burned in my pocket, but timing felt close, not yet. Late spring slipped into June. The startup won a bigger pilot with a tire chain. Emily's Reddit excerpt blew up. A New York publisher wrote, Let's talk. Workloads ballooned, our weekly rituals strained. One night at the pier she said, We're drifting into parallel lanes again. We invented a rule. For 1 week at home no sentence could begin with I have to, only I want to, or I don't want to. It exposed our mismatched cravings, then aligned them. She asked to learn clutch replacements. We spent a Saturday greasy and laughing over a flywheel. A Detroit demo loomed. Lauren wanted it fast. Emily proposed we road trip in the MR2 so the journey felt joint, not another absence. We drove north at dawn, fields whirring by, sharing her chapter drafts at diners and debugging my slides in motel lots. Detroit demo dazzled. Engineers gasped as sensors flagged a misfire I'd induced. We celebrated in a graffitied riverside amphitheater where she read a fresh chapter. I clapped louder than investors, homed slower, mapping roadside dinosaur statues and cataloging every odd MR2 noise in the map of love and mechanics. Mid-June, Emily's grandma fell ill. She asked me to come along. We both need to see my roots unfiltered. At the farm, I fixed a wheezy generator while Emily read her love in the garage scenes to Grandma. By departure, the old lady toasted, May machines serve people and hearts serve each other. Back in the city, contract paperwork awaited and her publisher wanted revisions. calendars collided. I felt the ringbox heavy in my pocket since track day. Over coffee we plotted 2 manic weeks when suddenly I knew no perfect moment would appear. I said, "There's something I want right now." Pop the latch. Silver caught morning light like a polished valve cover. Emily gasped. I knelt. "Let's service this engine together, always, listening for every rattle. Will you?" She nodded through tears, and the ring slid on. We sat on the kitchen floor as sun climbed, promising fresh overloads, new departures, possible breakdowns. But instead of fear, there was coffee aroma, a whiff of rusty keys, and the gleam of new silver reflecting a slowly turning world. Ahead lie thousands of miles and millions of revs, yet every one now marked by the memory of a yellow warning light we chose not to ignore.